It all started when a young researcher named Ted Faces was handed a collection of old urine samples from women. The research team no longer needed them, so they told him, "See if you could discover something interesting." While examining those samples, he expected to find estrogen, and he did. But something else caught his attention. There was an unusual spike in the analysis that nobody in the lab had seen before. Following the normal research process, the team isolated that unknown compound and analyzed it. To everyone's surprise, it wasn't a human compound at all. It turned out to be genistein, a naturally occurring substance found in soy. At first, the discovery didn't seem very important because the laboratory's main focus was human estrogen. Since this compound clearly didn't originate from the human body, some researchers questioned whether it had any value. Instead of ignoring it, Ted decided to investigate further. He discovered that genistein belongs to a group of plant compounds known as phytoestrogens. Researchers then tested it using laboratory systems commonly used in cancer research and drug development. The results were unexpected. When genistein was introduced into those experimental models, it significantly reduced the formation of blood vessels that certain cancer cells rely on for growth. That observation inspired further scientific studies and eventually helped researchers better understand that certain natural compounds found in foods may influence biological processes involved in tumor development. This research also played a role in changing the way scientists looked at nutrition and health. Around the same time, a widespread belief began spreading that soy might be harmful, especially for women with breast cancer. That idea became popular across blogs, online discussions, and social media. The misunderstanding likely began with good intentions. People knew that some breast cancers are sensitive to estrogen. They also heard that soy contains compounds called phytoestrogens. Without understanding the science behind the word phyto, many assumed soy would behave exactly like human estrogen. As a result, many people concluded that women should completely avoid soy. However, scientists continued studying the evidence rather than relying on assumptions. When researchers compared the chemical structure of phytoestrogens with the structure of human estrogen, they found they were very different molecules. Although the names sound similar, they do not function in exactly the same way. Further laboratory studies suggested that certain soy compounds may actually interact with estrogen receptors differently than human estrogen does. Because of this, many researchers began looking more closely at soy instead of dismissing it. As additional evidence became available, scientists continued investigating whether soy foods could be safely included as part of a balanced diet. That research eventually led to several large human studies examining real-world health outcomes rather than relying only on laboratory theories. One of the best-known human studies followed nearly 5,000 women who had already been diagnosed with breast cancer. Since these participants had previously experienced the disease, they were considered a group at particularly high risk. Researchers tracked their eating habits over several years and compared the outcomes. What they observed was noteworthy. Women who regularly included more soy foods in their diets tended to have a lower overall mortality rate than those who consumed less soy. The findings suggested roughly a 30% lower risk of death among the higher soy intake group. Scientists also looked at women who had already completed treatments such as surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, or hormone therapy and were in remission. Among those women, higher soy consumption was linked with a lower likelihood of the cancer returning during long-term follow-up. Naturally, many people asked an important question. Was this just one study? Researchers asked the same thing. That's why similar investigations continued around the world. Over time, numerous additional clinical studies evaluated soy intake among women with breast cancer. Across those studies, the overall pattern remained fairly consistent. Scientists repeatedly observed that women who consumed moderate amounts of soy foods generally experienced favorable long-term outcomes compared with those who ate very little soy. These findings encouraged researchers to continue exploring soy rather than dismissing it because of early misconceptions. But soy isn't the only food attracting scientific attention. Researchers have also studied several everyday plant foods that naturally contain compounds associated with healthy biological processes. For example, tomatoes have been widely researched for their naturally occurring antioxidants. Tree nuts, including walnuts, pistachios, almonds, macadamia nuts, and pine nuts, contain healthy fats, vitamins, minerals, and plant compounds that researchers continue to investigate for their potential health-supporting properties. Another group receiving significant attention is the cruciferous vegetable family. This includes broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, kale, and even turnips. These vegetables naturally contain sulfur-rich compounds that scientists have studied for their effects on normal cellular function. Berries are another major focus. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries provide a wide range of polyphenol and antioxidants. Strawberries, for example, contain a naturally occurring compound called ellagic acid, which researchers have investigated in laboratory settings because of its biological activity. Earlier experimental studies also found that certain berry extracts showed interesting effects in research models, encouraging scientists to continue investigating their potential role in nutrition science. Of course, it's important to keep these findings in perspective. Foods are not replacements for medical care, prescription treatments, or advice from qualified healthcare professionals. Instead, many researchers view healthy eating as one part of an overall lifestyle that supports long-term wellness. But the everyday choices we make, such as eating nutritious foods, staying physically active, sleeping well, and managing stress, are also important parts of maintaining good health. Rather than seeing food as medicine by itself, scientists increasingly describe it as one of many lifestyle factors that may help support the body's normal functions over time. Another everyday food that continues to receive a great deal of scientific attention is green tea. For years, researchers have examined its naturally occurring compounds, especially a group known as catechins, because of their biological activity. When you brew a regular cup of green tea, hot water helps draw many of these catechins and polyphenol out of the leaves and into the drink. As you sip the tea, you're consuming those naturally occurring plant compounds. Scientists have spent decades studying these substances and how they may support normal cellular health. But there's another form of green tea that has attracted even more research interest: matcha. Although matcha comes from the same plant as traditional green tea, it's produced differently. Several weeks before harvest, the tea plants are shaded from direct sunlight. This growing method encourages the leaves to produce higher concentrations of certain natural compounds. After harvesting, the leaves are carefully processed and then ground into an extremely fine powder. Unlike regular green tea, where the leaves are removed after brewing, matcha allows you to consume the entire leaf. That means you're getting the naturally occurring fiber along with a greater amount of the plant polyphenol. This is one reason matcha has such a rich green color and a thicker texture compared to ordinary brewed tea. Because you're consuming the whole leaf, researchers have become increasingly interested in studying its nutritional profile. Some laboratory studies have even explored how matcha extracts interact with certain types of cancer cells under controlled experimental conditions. One area receiving particular attention involves breast cancer stem cells. To understand why scientists are interested in this topic, it's helpful to know what stem cells are. Every human being begins life as a small group of stem cells. These remarkable cells eventually develop into every tissue and organ throughout the body. Even after birth, some stem cells remain in the body to help repair and renew tissues throughout life. Researchers have also discovered that some tumors may contain a small group of cells often referred to as cancer stem cells. These cells are believed to play a role in helping tumors survive, regrow, or return after treatment, making them an important focus of ongoing cancer research. Because of that, scientists continue searching for new ways to better understand these cells. In laboratory experiments, some researchers observed that certain compounds found in matcha influenced breast cancer stem cells under specific research conditions. While these findings are encouraging, they're still part of an active area of scientific investigation and should not be viewed as proof that matcha can prevent or treat cancer in people. Even so, the research has generated significant interest and continues to inspire further studies around the world. Scientists emphasize that maintaining a healthy diet rich in plant-based foods may support overall wellness, but these foods should always be considered part of a healthy lifestyle, not a substitute for professional medical treatment. As research continues, scientists hope to better understand how everyday foods may contribute to long-term health and how they might complement existing medical approaches in the future. Researchers have also been paying close attention to another important area of health, the gut microbiome. Inside our digestive system live trillions of bacteria, many of which play valuable roles in digestion, immunity, and communication throughout the body. Among these bacteria, one species that has attracted scientific interest is Lactobacillus reuteri. Studies suggest this beneficial microbe may communicate with the brain through what scientists call the gut-brain axis. According to research, signals from this bacterium may encourage the body to produce oxytocin, a hormone often associated with bonding and social connection. Oxytocin is naturally released in many everyday situations. For example, it plays an important role during breastfeeding, childbirth, affectionate hugs, close relationships, and other positive social interactions. Because oxytocin influences both emotional well-being and certain immune functions, researchers have become interested in understanding whether gut bacteria that affect its release could also influence overall health. Animal studies have explored this possibility. In several laboratory experiments, animals that received Lactobacillus reuteri showed improvements in immune function and reduced levels of inflammation. Some studies also observed a lower occurrence of breast tumors in specially designed research models. These findings are promising, but scientists emphasize that animal studies are only the beginning. More human clinical research is still needed before drawing firm conclusions. Researchers have also discovered that Lactobacillus reuteri may contribute to better oral health by helping maintain a healthier balance of bacteria inside the mouth. As interest in probiotics has grown, many people naturally ask where this beneficial bacterium can be found. Traditional fermented foods are one possible source. Certain yogurts may contain it, although not every commercial yogurt includes the same bacterial strains. That's why experts recommend checking product labels rather than assuming all yogurts provide identical probiotics. Authentic sourdough bread is another interesting example. Real sourdough is produced through natural fermentation using living cultures instead of simply adding acids to imitate the sour flavor. During this slow fermentation process, beneficial bacteria help create the bread's distinctive taste and texture. For that reason, naturally fermented sourdough is generally considered different from factory-produced breads that rely on shortcuts to achieve a similar flavor. Researchers have also identified beneficial bacteria in traditionally produced Parmigiano Reggiano, the authentic Italian Parmesan cheese. This isn't the processed grated cheese commonly sold in containers, but the genuine aged cheese made using traditional methods. Like all cheeses, it should still be enjoyed in moderation because it can contain significant amounts of sodium and saturated fat. Another fascinating area of research involves wound healing. Experimental studies in laboratory animals found that Lactobacillus reuteri appear to speed the normal healing process compared with animals that did not receive it. Although scientists continue investigating exactly how this happens, the findings have encouraged additional research into the relationship between probiotics, immunity, inflammation, and tissue repair. Overall, these discoveries highlight an important message. Many everyday foods contain naturally occurring compounds that researchers continue to investigate for their potential role in supporting health. However, no single food should be viewed as a miracle cure. The strongest scientific evidence continues to support a balanced diet, regular physical activity, quality sleep, stress management, and appropriate medical care whenever needed. As nutrition science continues to evolve, researchers hope to better understand how healthy eating patterns may work alongside modern medicine to support long-term wellness and healthy aging. As you can see, scientists continue uncovering fascinating insights about the connection between nutrition, the gut microbiome, and overall health. While many everyday foods contain natural compounds that researchers are actively studying, They work best as part of a healthy lifestyle, not as a replacement for professional medical care. As research continues to evolve, we'll keep learning more about how simple daily food choices may support long-term wellness and healthy aging. If you found this discussion helpful, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future evidence-based health content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.